When Emily Carter first moved into her new house in Chicago with her husband, Daniel, and their teenage daughter, Lily, she was excited about the fresh chapter in their lives. Emily loved cooking. She grew up in a family where dinner meant everyone gathered at the table, laughter filled the room, and leftovers were a normal part of life. Like most American families, the Carters lived on convenience as much as tradition. Microwaves had become their best friend, especially during busy weekdays when Daniel rushed out for his job at the bank. Emily juggled her part-time teaching role, and Lily ran from soccer practice to late-night study sessions. Emily thought she was doing everything right. She cooked balanced meals, packed leftovers into neat containers, and reheated them the next day to save time and money. But little did she know that her ordinary kitchen routine would soon collide with unsettling warnings from doctors that would forever change the way she saw food and ultimately, how she cared for her family. It all started one Sunday afternoon. Emily was scrolling through her phone while sipping coffee when she stumbled upon a health seminar being streamed online. The speaker was Dr. Michael Anderson, a nutrition specialist known for raising awareness about hidden dangers in everyday foods. Out of curiosity, Emily turned up the volume. "Most of us don't think twice before reheating last night's dinner," Dr. Anderson said, his voice calm but serious. "But reheating certain foods can transform them into silent threats. Compounds can change, nutrients can break down, and in some cases, harmful substances can form, linked to everything from cancer risks to memory decline." Emily froze. She immediately thought of the container sitting in her fridge, yesterday's spinach and chicken casserole, ready to be reheated for lunch. She glanced at the microwave and felt uneasy. That night, while setting the table, Emily brought it up to Daniel. "Do you think it's possible that reheating some foods could actually make them dangerous?" she asked. Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Dangerous? Come on, Em. It's just leftovers. People reheat food all the time. We've been fine, haven't we?" But Emily couldn't shake Dr. Anderson's words. The next day, she decided to dive deeper. She emailed the clinic that hosted the seminar, and to her surprise, she received a reply inviting her to attend a community lecture the following weekend. At the lecture, Emily met not only Dr. Anderson but also Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a neurologist who specialized in dementia research. The doctors shared stories of patients who had unknowingly harmed themselves by overlooking how food changes when it's cooked, cooled, and reheated multiple times. They emphasized that while not every leftover was a risk, there were 5 foods that people should especially think twice about reheating. Emily took notes as they spoke, her pen scribbling across the pages of her notebook, each word making her more anxious. Spinach, they explained, could lose its protective nutrients and release nitrates that under certain conditions became problematic when reheated again and again. Rice, surprisingly, was one of the biggest culprits, harboring bacteria that could survive cooking and multiply during cooling, leading to severe digestive issues when reheated. Potatoes, when reheated improperly, could lose their nutrients and even develop harmful compounds. Eggs, often overlooked, could become unsafe when microwaved after sitting out too long. And chicken, though a staple of family meals, could change in texture and composition when repeatedly reheated, sometimes straining digestion and, in rare cases, increasing risks of exposure to harmful compounds. What struck Emily most wasn't the list itself, it was the way the doctors tied it back to long-term health. Dr. Mitchell explained how repeated exposure to harmful food compounds might, over years, contribute to conditions like cancer and even neurological issues such as memory loss. "Dementia isn't just about genetics," Dr. Mitchell said. "Lifestyle matters. And food, something we consume every single day, is a powerful factor." The words hit Emily like a thunderclap. She thought of her grandmother, who had struggled with dementia in her final years. She remembered the heartbreak of watching her grandmother forget names, faces, and even the recipes she once loved. Could food have played a role? When Emily returned home, she gathered Daniel and Lily in the kitchen. "From now on," she said firmly, "we're going to be careful about what we reheat. Some meals will be eaten fresh, others stored differently, but we're not going to gamble with our health anymore." Daniel chuckled lightly, though he could see the determination in her eyes. "All right, Em. If it means less reheated mystery casserole, I'm on board. But for Lily, who relied on reheating leftovers between school and sports, the change wasn't so simple. Mom, are you saying I can't heat up pizza anymore? Or chicken wings from last night's game? Emily smiled gently. Some things are okay, Lily. But we have to be smart. I'm not saying no to everything, just the foods that doctors warn us about. It's about keeping us safe for the long run. Over the weeks that followed, Emily transformed their kitchen habits. She invested in smaller containers to store only the amount of food they'd eat in one sitting, reducing the temptation to reheat large batches. She encouraged the family to eat more fresh vegetables and fruits, and when leftovers couldn't be avoided, she reheated them only once and within safe time frames. The change wasn't just practical, it became emotional. Meals began to feel more intentional, less like hurried reheats and more like mindful choices. Emily found herself experimenting with smaller portions, creative recipes, and even teaching Lily how to prepare quick, fresh meals instead of relying on the microwave. Still, Emily couldn't forget the faces she saw at the lecture. The stories of patients who had suffered from long-term effects stayed with her. She knew that not everyone had the opportunity to hear those warnings. That's when she made a decision. She started writing about her experience, turning her notes and research into an article she submitted to the local newspaper. To her surprise, the piece was published under the headline, "The Hidden Dangers of Reheating: One Family's Wake-Up Call." The response was overwhelming. Neighbors stopped her at the grocery store to thank her for sharing the information. Friends called her, admitting they had been reheating rice for days, without realizing the risks. Some even asked for tips on safe meal prep. One evening, as Emily looked at her family gathered around the table, she felt a deep sense of relief. They weren't just eating dinner, they were protecting their future. And though Emily knew life was unpredictable, she also knew that knowledge was power. By listening, by changing, and by sharing, she had turned a simple kitchen habit into a lesson that could save lives. Because sometimes it isn't the big decisions that shape our health, it's the small, everyday choices like what we choose to reheat. And from that moment on, the Carter family vowed never to reheat those 5 foods again, knowing that their health, their memories, and their lives were worth far more than a little convenience.